Hello everybody, welcome back to Let's Play Apollo Justice Ace Attorney. I almost said Phoenix Wright, but that's who we're helping out, because last time we met Apollo, and yeah, he's taking on a pretty high profile case, because Phoenix Wright is involved in yet another murder case, revolving around him, with someone saying he murdered somebody. So yeah, we kind of need to investigate that. But momentary choking fit. I'm fine now. But alright, yeah. One of their witnesses for the prosecution, she, well, obviously, as is the case with any Ace Attorney game, they weren't really on the up and up, so there's just a lot of stuff we need to figure out here. So let's go. Court will now reconvene. As our witness, Miss Olga really recovered. Yeah, I'm thinking it's meant to be said orally instead of orally. So yeah. Yes, Your Honor. Well, she's regained consciousness. Perhaps we can hear her version of the events again. That's the thing. You see, she's quite fatigued. You're looking a bit fatigued yourself, Mr. Payne. Sadly, fatigue is insufficient grounds for refusing to testify. Or prosecute. The defense would like to request that Miss O'Reilly take the stand. Very well. Witness will take the stand. Perhaps you could repeat your name and profession. Or perhaps you'd rather admit that you're a poor liar and a poorer loser. Not. I'm sorry, what? Whoa, this took a turn. Name's Olga O'Reilly. That's the truth. I'm a pro dealer. People call me Olga Quickfingers O'Reilly. Oh, O'Reilly. Want to know something else? I'm not really Russian. My last name sounds like O'Reilly. There, that's the truth. Hope you're satisfied. Okay, thank you. Thank you for specifying, because I thought I was like, Orly? No, okay. It's O'Reilly. Thank God I understand elite speak. I'm pretty sure that joke might have been more astounding for Japanese players of the game. Then again, she probably had a Japanese name that was like a pun in their native language. Alright, witness, you'll tell the court what you were really up to that night. Fine, I'll talk. We had a plan, see? Let me remind you that you are currently under oath. Any further fabrications will have serious consequences. Fine. Like I said, I'm a pro. That guy, Smith, hired me to do what I do best. Does her profile change? Yes, it does. Okay. I was planted at the Borscht Bowl Club several days prior to the night of the game. As a waitress. So you were in cahoots with the victim. Not that he needed my help. Smith was a well-known poker player in some circles. But winning wasn't the main purpose of this game. It was about destroying a legend, the unbeatable Phoenix Wright. The plan was simple. Elegant, really. You see, we set up a trap of sorts. I was to plant a card in Wright's pocket beforehand, and then deal 5 aces during one of their games. When their hands were revealed, Smith would call them out and search Wright. He would then pull out the planted card and the trap would snap shut. You swapped the cards! Exposed as a cheater and losing on top of it, it would have made a great double play. Just like that, the legend would be dashed to pieces. Indeed. Getting caught red-handed at cheating would cast doubt on all his prior wins. A 7-year legend destroyed by one little card. That was the plan. Oh really, oh really. How droll. But it appears you made quite the mistake. Mistake? I agree, the trap was elegant. Yet what happened to that planted card? Hey, that's right. He's lucky, I'll give him that. You'd have to be... Oh, yeah. You'd have to be to slip free from a trap laid by Olga Quick Fingers O'Reilly. Oh, really? The witness would be much cuter if she dispensed with the evil mastermind shtick. Cute? Who wants to be cute? I'm not cute. I'm bad, you hear me? Bad. When you're through being bad, perhaps you could testify to the court? Tell us about this trap and how it was sprung. The best laid traps with mice and men? That night I planted the car like I was supposed to. And Wright lost the last hand just like he was supposed to. Oh, wait. I skipped text. My bad. But the planted car was gone, the trap failed. The next moment, Wright picked up a bottle and swung it. It wasn't me who hit Smith, it was that no-good cheating defendant. Surprisingly frank testimony that still leaves us mostly in the dark. The trap was perfect, I tell you, perfect. If that rotten cheater hadn't messed it up. Look who's talking. Well, the testimony, for what it's worth, is all yours, Mr. Justice. But witnesses like her, who needs criminals? And with defendants like Mr. Wright, who needs prosecutors? I mean, Capcom, so that way they could, you know, sell this game. Right, lost hand. What did I miss? The plant car was gone. The trap failed. I'm gonna press on that. The card disappeared? Yeah, my trump card, the 5 of Hearts. Gone, without a trace. Poof, Zippo. We searched every nook and cranny, even inside his cute little hat. But the card was nowhere to be found, is this correct? Never in my long, storied career. Never has Quick Fingers O'Reilly been so readily duped. Oh, really? So what did happen to that 5 of Hearts? Don't look at me. Why don't you ask that cheating, lying, two-faced defendant? So the 5 of Hearts is still missing in action. Wait, isn't that a little odd? What's odd? You searched Mr. Wright, thoroughly and found nothing? Which means he didn't cheat, which means he had no reason to strike the victim. Well... What was that just now? I sensed something. Something wrong, Mr. Justice? No, nothing, Your Honor. What to do? Should I press her a little harder? Yes. Miss O'Reilly, you're hiding something. What are you talking about? You? Me? Quick Fingers O'Reilly? Hide something? The defense will refrain from baseless accusations. I have one question for the witness, then. You say you saw the moment the defendant hit the victim. Is this true? Of course it's true. I did see it, honest. I saw it when Wright hit him. With my own eyes, I saw it. What's this weird vibe I'm getting? That witness, for instance, Miss O'Reilly, she would touch the back of her neck during certain parts of her testimony. Did you notice? Ooh, shit! Oh my god, we got tells for lies now. Oh my god. Touching her neck, was it? Whoa, what's going on? This sensation, it's coming into focus. There, at Twitch. It's so clear. It's like I could perceive her habit like I couldn't before. Gotcha! Oh, this is amazing. Miss O'Reilly, perhaps you're unaware of this yourself. Unaware of what? Whenever you get to a certain part of your testimony... Oh, don't tell them, because then they'll change up their behavior. You touched the back of your neck with your left hand. My neck? So what? What indeed, Justice? I hadn't noticed anything of the sort. Well, she says that part of the testimony. She's subconsciously recalling something. Her body reacts to the memory, and she touches her neck. I'm sure of it.
A memory? Would someone care to explain what he's babbling about?
This is highly unusual, but let's ask the defense. You claim the witness is remembering something. Maybe you have evidence of this memory to show us? Her habit is scratching her neck whenever she talks about the moment of the crime. So, what would remind her most of the moment of the crime? And so really, whenever you recall the crime that night, you scratch your neck. I noticed it happens when you think about the moment of the crime. There must be some reason behind this habit of yours. I believe the weapon that left an inerasable impression on your neck is this. Oh, why am I checking that? Whenever she talks about the moment of the crime, she touches her neck. And what reminds us more of that moment than this bottle? The murder weapon. But something doesn't fit. If you were only the witness to the crime, why would that make you touch your neck like you're in pain?
What's he talking about now?
It was Mr. Smith, the victim, who was hit. Not you.
This is a cross-examination, not a cross-wild conjecture. The witness's habits, they're completely irrelevant.
Justice? I'll admit I'm a bit confused myself. This is certainly a unique cross-examination. I'll explain later. Just trust me. That was our only chance to break her. Miss O'Reilly, please testify in detail about the moment of the crime. The very moment.
Yet, I am knowing nothing.
We know you're not Russian. Witness will testify. Please. Now.
Fine. He's the one who did it. I didn't let him out of my sight until the cops got there.
That's incorrect. Because right, left to make a call. But let me press first so I don't lose health. You seem uneasy.
You try sitting up here.
Her eyes are darting all over the place. Must be getting warm. Tell me, after the crime, what's the defendant like?
Well, he must have been stunned by the weight of his crime. He sat in a daze at that table until the cops came.
Intriguing. I believe you've gotten all the testimony you're going to get out of this witness. So what do you think about her testimony? I'll tell you what I think. Her testimony is flawed. It's basically bogus. It contradicts the evidence. Ooh, glad I pressed instead of presenting right then and there.
What's that?
Well, show us this evidence, Mr. Justice. This evidence that you claim contradicts the testimony. She didn't let him out of her sight until the cops got there. I know there's some evidence that contradicts that. Just want to make sure. Because yep, used to notify the police from the first floor. Miss O'Reilly, we have a record here that clearly contradicts what you said. It states that the police were alerted by a report from the defendant. And we know that the defendant left the room, climbed the stairs, and made that phone call from the first floor of the Borscht Bowl Club.
Ack!
So explain how you kept your eyes on the defendant when he left the room entirely. Oh, that's a camera. I didn't know what that was. The man who picked up a bottle and swung it that night wasn't the defendant. Wait, is she coming clean already? It's that simple? It's that simple, folks. It's that simple. Just then, Smith grabbed the bottle from next to right.
And he hit me.
You, some master of cheating you turned out to be.
Eek.
When I came to, the victim was already dead. Oh, the victim was already dead? Is that it?
That's why I couldn't reveal who I really was. If it came out that I was in league with Smith, I'd be a suspect for sure.
Well, where does this leave us?
Madness. This is madness. I'm dreaming. It must have been me who was hit with a bottle, and I'm imagining all of this.
It appears our prosecution is at his wit's end, and frankly, I can't blame him. Mr. Gavin, what do you think about this turn of events?
Mr. Gavin, sir?
I believe that as the defense in this case, we are compelled to call Miss O'Reilly a big fat liar.
What?
3 were in that room the night of the murder, the defendant, victim, and her. And she has a motive.
A motive?
Her plot foiled, the witness got into an argument with her client, Mr. Smith. And the denouement of that argument was murder.
What? I'm no killer. It's a trap. Someone's trying to frame me.
What tangled webs we weave when we practice to deceive. So tangled we catch ourselves in the process. Mr. Wright? Such a hasty conclusion. It's not like you, Christoph Gavin. What are you saying? Why not consider the other possibility? That there was another person in the room at the time of the murder. Right. Like Mr. Wright was saying before recess. A single card was swapped into the victim's hand after the murder. And the one who swapped the card didn't know 2 colors of cards were being used. A 4th person.
Heh. This theory again. Your 4th person doesn't exist.
Indeed. That's why I decided to bring this case to court. Here, where there's no escape and no chance for deception. The perfect place to catch the real criminal. The real criminal? And we're in luck. A clue to reveal the criminal's identity was kindly provided for us. And right at the beginning of the trial, no less.
What?
Is it Payne? Apollo? Perhaps you know what I'm talking about?
Sorry?
Remember what I said. The 4th person who swapped the cards made one critical error. He or she wasn't considering the color on the backs of the cards. Right. But how could such an obvious mistake occur? The cards used for that last game were red. Yet, there is one person here in our court who thought those cards were blue. Yeah, had that impression too, but why? Well, Apollo, think you can figure out who it was?
It's not me, I swear.
Who is this fourth person? Why do I always get put on the spot like this? Let's hear the defense has to say. Who was it? Who thought the cards used in the final game were blue? I don't... What, is it going to be someone who's colorblind? So, it can't be these three. What did he say something special about the deck? Okay, I'm at full health. Did he say something about the card colors? I genuinely don't remember, but I guess that's what I get for waiting so long in between parts, as I expected. Your eyes and ears are as sharp as your hair. I was right? Christoph Gavin, you were the fourth person that night. But, of course Mr. Gavin knows the color of the cards. How would he? Oh, shit. That's a good point. As you can see, the photo of the crime scene is black and white. You can't tell which of the cards are blue. The ones on the floor or the table. But, look. You can see the colors in this photo. Yes, we said the cards were blue. It was well before this evidence came to light. It's true that the defendant was engaged in a game of poker with the victim. It was only that, a game in the purest sense. A competition, Your Honor.
A competition?
Yes, a test of wits. A silent clash of passion. That is a tongue twister. A silent clash of passions. Only the cards, their backs wreathed in blue flame, know its final outcome. Well, Christoph? Mr. Gavin? Mr. Gavin, is something the matter? No, nothing, excuse me. It was just so sudden. Right. You aren't seriously accusing me, are you? Oh, Christoph? You know even I'd never take a joke this far.
This is going beyond ridiculous, beyond dumb. This is insanity. The defendant accusing his own defense attorney of murder.
I assure you, I'm quite sane.
But what possible connection could Mr. Gavin have to the victim?
I wasn't aware that I had a connection to Mr. Smith either.
Yes, but Mr. Gavin and the victim have never even met.
Well, what if they have?
Huh?
There is a possibility, after all. They may have met that night, before the game started. What are you suggesting? Is this the truth Mr. Wright was staying silent about? Only one thing to do. Mr. Wright, the defense would like to request that you testify to the court. What? The defense would like to request no such thing. Mr. Gavin? Testimonies must relate to the case. How can anything happening before that game of poker be related? I'm not sure I follow, Mr. Gavin. As I explained before, the defense believes that Miss O'Reilly. Am I to assume you speak for Mr. Justice in this? Is the defense, or he is the defense, not you. Mr. Justice, the matter of Mr. Wright's testimony is up to you. Oh, okay. Does the court, in your favor, need to hear Mr. Wright's testimony? Let him hear it. This is Mr. Wright's strategy. He is planning this all along, and I intend to see it through. The defense would like to request that Mr. Wright testify to the court. At 2, Justice? You would betray me, your teacher. Sorry, Mr. Gavin. This isn't about loyalty. This is about the truth. Very well, the defendant, Mr. Wright, will take the stand. Please. Okay, I was not expecting Christoph to have been there. I have numerous questions. Alright, just had to look something up back. Appetite before murder. That evening, Christoph and I had dinner. We sat at the table in this photograph. Shotty Smith walked in 5 minutes after Christoph left. When the trap failed, Smith hit the waitress. The girl was knocked out cold and Smith was uncontrollable. I left to call the police. When I returned, he was dead, blood streaming from a cut on his forehead. That's when I made another phone call to defense attorney Gavin. Sorry, another brief interruption. Mr. Gavin, you were at the Borscht Bowl Club the night of the murder? I dine with him rather frequently.
And he talked to the defendant on the phone directly after the murder.
Quite against my will, I had become involved in the murder. I thought I might be in need of a lawyer, so I called him. You were planning this all along, weren't you, Wright? Just because you wanted to drag me into your little murder trial. The only thing I want is the truth. As I did back then, and now. I thought my office was doing you a favor when we took on your defense. It appears that I was wrong. Very well, the defense may cross-examine the witness. Justice? Sir? Boy, this is going to be fun to edit. He's lying, and you're going to expose him. Understood, sir. Mr. Gavin versus Mr. Wright. This can't end well. Why can't I have a normal trial? Okay. Appetite before murder. Yeah, dinner, we sat at the table in this photograph. Shotty walked in 5 minutes after Christoph left. The trap failed. Smith hit the waitress. Girl was knocked out cold. Smith was uncontrollable. Left to call the police. Returned, he was dead, blood streaming from a cut on his forehead. So I made another phone call to defense attorney Gavin. But cause of death was blunt force trauma. Hemorrhaging resulting from blunt trauma to the forehead. Oh, fair enough, fair enough. Made another phone call to defense attorney Gavin. Why? I guess he could argue because he was there, he knows I'm innocent. And when you returned, the victim was already dead. Yes. I'll admit, I was a little startled when I walked in. Little? He was bleeding from his forehead, after all. I guess I'd be startled too if I walked in on a scene like that. When the trap failed, Smith hit the waitress. About this failed trap. This is the same trap that Miss Olga really mentioned. The plan was simple, elegant really. You see, we set up a trap of sorts. I was to plant a card in Wright's pocket beforehand, and then deal 5 cards. Oh yeah, because the card's missing. So what, he knew about it and removed the card? You swap the cards. Just like that, the legend would be dashed to pieces. Yes, a harmless prank in essence. It was by a quirk of fate that I happened to discover it. A quirk? I happened to put my hand in my pocket and found a card. The card she planted. Yes, snuck a peek at it and found it was the 5 of hearts. Had a feeling something might happen, so I disposed of the card before the game. Disposed? Where? There's an empty bottle of grape juice I had been drinking right beside me. I threw the card inside the bottle.
An empty bottle of grape juice?
The murder weapon? Yes, I rolled it up and shoved it in. The colored glass makes it hard to see. A battle of wits between the deceiver and the would-be deceived. It sounds like terrific drama. A card inside the murder weapon? That's strange. Did the police miss it in their investigation? Maybe I'll take a look. Mr. Wright, the pokerhead of courtroom number 3 approves of this battle of wits. Please revise your testimony with this new information. Discover the trap during the game. Dispose of the card in the bottle. But your prints are on it upside down. So you're not going to hold the bottle upside down to... Well, it's completely empty.
Objection!
Why are you lying, Wright? Mr. Wright, if I may? Yes. I've examined the bottle and I don't see any card in here. No. What? Mr. Wright, surely isn't all you have to say for yourself. Can't say that I know what happened to the card. I did put it in that bottle, however. Huh? Perhaps a 5th person came and took it out? Oh, and a 6th person could have helped. Mr. Gavin, Mr. Wright is your client. My apologies, Your Honor.
I won't have you disparaging our investigation either. We looked inside that bottle. There was nothing.
So what's going on? Is Mr. Wright hoodwinking us again? Or did the card just disappear? In any case, please continue the cross-examination. I'm afraid decisive contradictions call for decisive evidence. Oh. Push him hard, or Justice. Break him. It's just you and the witness in the ring. Go for the KO. Why do I get the feeling we're not on our client's side anymore? Okay. Let's give it a trap. What? Wait, so that whole line of dialogue was a red herring? Unless I gotta press further on this? Why in the bottle? That's also a good question. Perceive my opponent's intent immediately. I'm used to entrapment, you see. I knew what was coming. Oh, so you struck first. I like that. I know every trick in the book. They don't work on me. At least when you get lucky and stick your hand in your pocket, they don't. Girl was knocked out cold and Smith was uncontrollable. You made the call to the police from the first floor of the restaurant, correct? Exactly. Cell phones don't get a signal down in the hideout. Was anyone else on the first floor at that time? Not a soul. It was the middle of the night after all. So there, in the darkened restaurant, I called the cops. After making the call, I returned to the hideout. It didn't seem right to leave the injured witness alone. When in doubt, press on everything. You had dinner with Mr. Gavin. Yes, he dines with me at the Borscht Bowl Club quite frequently. We were enjoying a usual dinner at our usual spot. As usual. Usual? Always eat at the table closest to the piano. I see. Mr. Gavin was... Oh, yeah, where Mr. Gavin was sitting.
So, the plates and such on the table were from your dinner?
Indeed. The remnants of my meal with Christoph. We dined for 2 hours, then Christoph left. After that... 5 minutes. So the two of them could never have passed in the restaurant during that time? That would have been a fateful encounter, to be sure. That would have to be a fateful encounter, to be sure.
Oh, Mr. Wright, what was it you said? Christoph Gavin and Shoddy Smith may have met.
I believe I did say that.
Here I was all nervous about this meeting, and now we hear they just passed in the hall.
It does seem a little weak as a pretense for murder. Oh, it would be. If that was all of that really happened. Come on, Mr. Wright. Where are you hiding this time? I mean, if we're being honest, this line is suspicious too. Could you explain why you called Mr. Gavin? I'd obviously gotten involved in a rather sticky affair. And I figured Christoph's law offices would give me a friend rate for my defense fees. Ah, glad to hear you intend to pay. Oh, I'll pay in full, Christoph. It was I who got you involved, after all. You may find the price of your defense quite high, my good friend. Quite high. Is this the truth that Mr. Wright was talking about? Justice, you know what you have to do. He's lying. Expose him now. Yes, sir. I have to think, what's Mr. Wright trying to tell me with this testimony? Truth has to be in there somewhere. But where? It's been a few days, and when I last recorded this, I was like half asleep. Did I press him on this? Wind the bottle. Perceive my opponent's intent immediately. I'm used to entrapment, you see. I knew what was coming. Oh, so you struck first. I like that. I know every trick in the book. They don't work on me. At least, when you get lucky and stick your hand in your pocket, they don't. Am I missing something here? Okay, I'm probably going to take damage for this, but they're wondering where the extra card went. And the wrong card in the victim's hand does give him a winning hand. So... I mean, I know I'm going to take damage for this, but there's nothing else I can think of. Yep, music's still playing. Yep, okay. I've got nothing. Oh, I think I might have been focusing on the wrong thing. You said blood was streaming from a cut on his forehead. I thought that was a little weird the last night I recorded this. But then I guess I looked at this and was like, I mean, yeah, the cut was on his forehead. And there is blood, but blood streaming. He wouldn't have been able to see it because the hat was covering it, and the hat was removed for the investigation. Because the crime scene photo was like right then and there, it wasn't touched. Mr. Wright, if I may? Yes? Take a look at this photograph of the crime scene. See the victim here? He's wearing a hat. Also, the music stops, so that means it was right. I wouldn't think you could see blood on his forehead. Good point. Justice. Next time you point out an inconsistency, put a little more oomph into it. Mr. Wright, can you explain this to the court? I forgot to mention something. I was the one who put that hat on his head. Huh? You? You put the hat on the dead man's head? He wore it through our entire poker game. After calling the police when I returned to the scene, his head was in full view. Shining bright, just like in this photograph. And? I picked his hat up off the floor and put it on his head.
But why'd you do a thing like that?
All I can say is, I'm sorry. But that's the only thing I touched at the crime scene. So Miss O'Reilly didn't see it. It being the victim's, his head. I think not. She was out cold. I believe I was the only one who witnessed his head. Ah, here we go again. Mr. Gavin? Pardon. It just seems that our client is determined to lie his way through this case. Hey, he is still our client, isn't he? I believe that's enough of that. Mr. Gavin? This witness's testimony is more like a travesty. It's riddled with lies. I'm beginning to see how you came to lose your attorney's badge 7 years ago. Well, you certainly have a unique way of treating your clients, Kristoff. I never knew. I believe it was you who threw the first stone. Mr. Wright, if you intend to ever tell the truth about this case, it's now or never. Don't be misled. I haven't told a single lie here. Eh? When I noticed the trap, I put the card in the bottle to dispose of it. And when I put the hat on the victim's head, let's just say I had a reason for doing that as well. Reason? That reason is right here. Your cell phone? That night, recall that I spoke with defense attorney Gavin after calling the police. Just in case, I recorded our conversation. What's this? Now that we're all here, I see no reason why I shouldn't play it back for the court. Kristoff seemed to be in a bit of trouble. What's this? Game not going well? Something like that. That gentleman who challenged you, he turned out to be good. He turned out to be dead. Someone hit him. Hard. You mean someone cracked that flawless bone china plate? It wasn't you, was it? Me? Please. The cops should be here any minute. I'm in your hands, should it come to that. Bone china plate? A kind of porcelain, very smooth and shiny. And not plate, but pate. Wait, did I misread that? Pate? Okay. I believe he was referring to a certain gentleman's balding forehead. The court appreciates the defendant's discretion in not indicating my forehead. Wait a second. Something's not right about that phone call. So after Mr. Gavin ate dinner with you, he left the Borscht Bowl Club. Most certainly. Then how did he know? When did he see this? Bone china pate? Or pate? No, there's no accent mark, so it's pate. I've never heard that term. Seriously. Oh, that's right. Yes. That was when I began to see my good friend in a different light. Troubled, I returned to the crime scene. When I spotted Mr. Smith's head again, I realized exactly what was wrong. Well, Mr. Gavin, the stage has been set. Perhaps you would like to explain this to the court? Exactly how did you come by your privileged knowledge of the victim's head? So, this is your reason. Reason why you put the victim's hat back on. Your point, Mr. Gavin? It's come down to this, has it? Phoenix Wright. Order! I will have order. Mr. Payne!
Yes, Your Honor.
I believe this court has been left with no other choice. Are you prepared to hear Defense Attorney Gavin's testimony?
Well, as the prosecutor, aye.
Very well, we'll break for 10 minutes. After which Mr. Gavin will take the stand for a cross-examination. Are we all clear on that? Crystal clear, Your Honor. Very well, this will be the final recess for the day. So he knew he was bald. Okay, alright. I see where this is going. Mr. Gavin and Mr. Wright are both in the judge's chamber. Who'd have thought today would turn out like this?
May I? Huh? What? Hello, sir. Please, pick a card.
What's all this about? Is this one okay?
Excellent. I have a message for you. The last hand is about to be played. You'll need a trump card to make it.
A trump card. Sorry, brief distraction.
The card you have chosen is magical. Use it wisely, and the game is yours. That's all.
An ace? Where do I remember that card from? Also, there's blood on it, just saying.
Mr. Smith's hand has 3 aces, and Mr. Wright's 2. It is 5 aces in all.
That is not a Russian accent, whatever.
It is true. I have seen it. The 5th ace. There was cheating, I swear to you.
The missing 5th ace? Wait, this blotch of red. Is this blood?
You have your trump card. Now it's up to you to cut the deck and draw the truth. My father's fate is in your hands. I know you can do it.
Well, that's interesting way to meet Phoenix's daughter. Also, you are taking that far too much in stride, Apollo. This bloodstained card is my trump card for finding the truth. You don't even acknowledge the fact that she said fathers. All right, I fell deep into thought as my mind raced to understand what this all meant. That girl, I'd seen her recently, but where? That's when I made the connection. Okay, well, Bloody Ace added to the court record. Wait, so is she 7? When did he have his daughter? What? Oh, okay. Court will now reconvene. Defense Attorney Christoph Gavin, will you please take the stand? Now then, if you would, Mr. Payne.
Yes, Your Honor. The witness state his name and occupation.
Is this farce necessary, Your Honor? Believe me, far stranger things have gone on in this courtroom.
Fine, I'll play along.
First, there's one thing we need to have made clear. How'd you know about the secret beneath the victim's hat?
By secret, I'm guessing he means the fact that Mr. Smith was bald. Forgive my curiosity, but what is it about this fellow's head? Your Honor seems to have an inordinate interest in it. Okay, I wouldn't call it inordinate, Mr. Gavin.
Mr. Wright?
What do you think you're doing, right? Oh no, he's doing the glasses push, the anime glasses push. He's achieving ultimate power. Wow, things sure look different from the other side. You know what I mean, Apollo? Speaking of looking from the other side, let's consider something for a second. The victim wore that hat all night, never once taken it off, except for that one time. That one time being the instant he was hit.
Oh!
When Mr. Wright returned from reporting the crime, the hat was lying on the floor. Mr. Wright picked it up and placed it on the victim's head. In other words, in order to have seen Mr. Smith's bald head, you would have had to be at the scene of the crime, at the time of the crime. In other words, you'd have to be the real killer, is what you're trying to say. Not bad, Apollo.
Mr. Gavin?
I'm afraid that I haven't been entirely honest with the court.
What?
Oh, I assure you I had the noblest of intentions. I did it all to protect my client, Mr. Wright. Yet, I'm afraid in the current situation I see little reason to hide anything. Very well, allow me to tell you the truth of what happened that night.
Finally, you may begin your testimony. Tell us, how were you involved in the events of that fateful night?
The rage I sensed in that man that night troubled me, so I returned to the club. I went down to the basement and peeked in through the little window to the hideout. It must have been right after the murder took place. The victim was dead, as he appears in the photo. A bald head, an unconscious girl, and Wright holding a bottle in his hand. I sensed that was not the best place for me to be at that time, and so I left. That's when the call came from Wright.
So, you witnessed the murder?
For better or worse, I missed the actual moment of the deed.
Mr. Gavin, may I remind you that you are on Mr. Wright's defense team. Your testimony is clearly disadvantageous to your client.
What else could I say? I'm standing on the witness stand after all. So you are, Mr. Gavin. And you had to testify as you just did. You had to tell them you saw the scene of the crime through that little window. Mr. Wright? You had to say that because that was the only probable window of opportunity. Right, Apollo?
Oh. Mr. Wright, defense should do the cross-examination, not the defendant. Mr. Justice, are you prepared?
Yes, Your Honor. I can't believe I'm going up against Mr. Gavin. This trial is getting weirder and weirder. Okay. Oh my god. What? Just doing a safety save. Because my 3DS is... battery is low and I do not have the charger nearby. Okay, peeked in through the little window to the hideout. Murder took place. Victim was dead as he appears in the photo. Where's the window located, though? Wait, don't we have the floor plans? we don't have the floor plans. Okay, yeah, I'm about to get the charger because the 3DS isn't as bad as the PSP was when like the red like low battery light came on. With the PSP, you had seconds to plug that back in. But yeah, give me a minute. I guess me still having the wireless thing still on the 3DS wasn't helping matters, but yeah, like you only have a couple of minutes when the red light comes on a 3DS, an original one at that, as opposed to like, 10 seconds on a PSP. But alright. The window thing, and Phoenix was really stressing this. The little window, you mean the one used to keep watch up the stairs? Yes, a relic of the ancient past. The black marketers used it, I believe. Why'd you go through the trouble of peeking in through the window? Wouldn't it have been easier to just open the door and go into the room? I didn't want to upset Wright, you see. Upset Mr. Wright? Yes, what if my fears had been unfounded? I'd be walking in on their match. Bad form, to say the least. So far everything he's saying makes sense. And also rage? That man, you mean Mr. Smith? He was different from the other customers, his aura, shall we say. I knew he was a serious poker player, but it was more than that.
So then you knew the true nature of your client's job?
Of course, but I also knew he wasn't engaged in gambling, which would be illegal. Well, it makes sense that he'd know. They were friends after all. Worried for my friend, I returned to the club. You see, I feared this Mr. Smith might be someone coming to settle an old score. I see. What happened then? Okay, base peeping little window. Must have been right after the murder took place. How do you know it was right after the murder? Really, no need to shout, Justice. I was just getting to that part of my testimony. Ah, there he is. The coolest defense in the West we know and love. Even when you're standing up there on the witness stand, some things never change. I was afraid you'd change too, right? But you haven't. You and that overbearing personality of yours. With friends like these, who needs enemies? Alright, victim was dead as he appears in the photo. By photo, you mean the second photograph of the crime scene? Precisely. You see, he wasn't wearing his hat then. I saw his head when he was dead. And then Mr. Wright came along and replaced his hat.
Can you describe the scene of the crime for us?
Bald head, an unconscious girl. How'd you see her, though? Those are the only three at the crime, or at the scene of the crime. Yes, as far as I saw at least.
Then we're back where we started. The killer was the defendant, Phoenix Wright. Who else could it have been? But why didn't you talk to the police?
2 reasons. First, I didn't actually witness the very moment of the crime. Second, my office was asked to defend Wright. Even after seeing what I had seen, I couldn't abandon my friend. There must have been someone else there at the moment of the crime. Justice, I just said I saw no one, not a soul. But that goes against what Mr. Wright said. Oh yes, this mysterious 4th person. Who would conveniently be the real killer, I suppose. Glad to see we agree, Mr. Gavin. Let me pose a question then. Tell me, what possible reason did the real killer have to swap cards in the victim's hand? to frame right. Perhaps you can show us a reason why such a thing would be necessary? How can I show something I can't find myself? Remember, Apollo, the card that was swapped out was the 5th ace. The 5th ace. Right. Hello, Mr. Justice? The question of why the killer would swap out a card has been raised. Can you point to a reason? But no, either way, the victim won. Not yet. No, not yet, Your Honor.
Not yet? Ha, pathetic. Not yet. Try not ever.
Oh, Mr. Gavin. Oh, I'm willing to wait for as long as it takes. Great, I don't even know what the heck I'm looking for. Apollo. Yes, sir? Don't forget, you already know the answer. You just don't realize it yet. I already know the answer? Take a moment to think it over again, okay? The back is red. Single drop of blood marks the front of the card. Okay, I'll try presenting it to that. It's the only thing I can think of. Oh, I can hold B. Okay. Wow, the HD thing or port of the original 3 games copied off of this. Or did the 3DS port of Apollo Justice come after the HD ports of Phoenix Wright? Because I recall this port of Apollo coming pretty late. Like, well, let's investigate, shall we? Apollo Justice Wikipedia. Okay. So it came out for the 3DS in 2017. November 2017. Wow. Yeah, that is late. That's post-Switch launch. Dang, I thought this was like a 2016 thing, or not, if that, but this port of Apollo Justice was post-Switch. That's insane. Oh my god. Okay. But then the Phoenix Wright HD trilogy. Yeah, Switch in 2019. Oh! Wow, yeah, that was, oh, okay, so it came to Steam in 2019.
Really? Huh. Alright then. So yeah, this did come before the HD trilogy. So yeah, the HD trilogy, I guess, took credence of that, but I mean, you would hope that, like, you know, a visual novel would have a fast forward option, but alright, whatever. Show evidence, I guess. It's now or never. Defense would like to present evidence to the court. Evidence showing the reason why a card was swapped out. Oh, because there was blood on it. Oh, but why? Go ahead and point out your reason, Mr. Justice. Why did the killer take the 5th ace? Because there was blood on this one, and the backing matches the rest of the cards. So it was imperative that blood could not be on it. My reason is, this.
Is that an ace?
Why it's got blood on it? Right next to the spade. What?
This is insane. Why wasn't I told about this? Why?
Could this be the missing 5th ace? Inconceivable. How could you? What are you doing with that card? Well, that's the thing. Why is Mr. Gavin so upset? It's just a fishy card from some fishy girl. Oh, that card? It's mine. That is, I picked it up at the Borscht Bowl Club that night after the murder had occurred. Gave it to my daughter. Cards are her stock in trade, after all. No! Impossible. Unacceptable! The court can't accept this evidence. It's a fraud. A fraud? How can you be so sure? What? I would think the only person who could claim it was a fraud would be the one who took the real card from the crime scene. The real killer. Allow me to elaborate. What if this trace of blood was the reason?
The reason for?
For the killer to take the card from the scene of the crime. Where are you going with this? Take another look at the photo and at the victim's head. The moment of the crime, his hat fell to the floor, and a trickle of blood ran from his forehead down the back of his head. Couldn't a drop of that blood have fallen on one of the cards? No. Oh my god, it's the victim's blood. I suppose the killer then took the card to hide the blood. Oh, or maybe not. Regardless, that evidence is non-permissible. Oh? Right. Regardless of how you wasted the last 7 years, you used to be a lawyer. You know what a serious crime it is to conceal evidence. Oh, we can discuss the finer points of our legal system later. What's important now is that I've answered your question. What are you talking about? You wanted to know why the killer would have taken a card from the crime scene. And now, I've told you. That one drop of blood would have been decisive evidence, you see. This is baseless conjecture. Baseless! Oh, I assure you it's quite based. What? Now that's fucking based. It's amazing, really, how a single drop of blood on a single card can lead us to the truth. It's quite simple. Well, Paulo?
Yes?
Try picturing the scene of the crime in your head. Oh snap, 3D? Oh my goodness. The murder took place in the hideout. The body of the luckless victim was found at the poker table. And, before the killer swapped a card out, there was a single card with a drop of blood on it in the victim's hand. Given this, there is one decisive problem with this scene. Well, what is it? Let's keep it simple, shall we? Given that there was a drop of blood on a card, whose position in this diagram doesn't fit? The victims, the killers, the witnesses?
The second witnesses? Whose position doesn't fit with the bloody card? Oh, dang, I can take damage for this. But it's the victim. He was leaning back. Well, isn't it the victim's position that's the problem? I don't follow your logic here, Mr. Justice. Well, look, the victim was struck on the head, sending him back in his chair. You'd think any blood would fall behind the body, not onto the table in front of him. See, I got it. Huh. Take a look at the photo again. If he bled in this position, the blood would fall on the floor, not on the cards. Why, that's right. So what does this mean? Incidentally, we were sitting in swivel chairs. Swivel chairs? Oh man. Apollo, try turning the chair around. The chair is facing the other way. It would have to be. So we'll have to assume that at the time of the murder, I like these 3D renditions of the crime scene and being able to interact with them. Oh man, the victim's chair is facing away from the table. Mr. Wright returned from informing the police. Which way was the chair facing? When I came back to the room, the body was facing as seen in this photo. That would mean the killer turned the chair back around. Let's take the next step. Look at the diagram once more. We know now the victim was facing away from the table at the time of the murder. But this creates another significant contradiction.
Again?
Let's test your reasoning skills again, shall we? Apollo, whose location on this diagram contradicts our new understanding of the crime? The victims, the killers, the witnesses, the second witnesses. Whose location creates a contradiction if the victim was facing away? It would have to be the killer then, because then he wouldn't be able to be at this exact spot. The victim was struck from the front, correct? Indeed. Well, wouldn't it be hard for the killer to hit him from the front? Sitting where his indicator currently is? I would think it'd be quite hard, yes?
Yes, but what you're saying makes no sense. Why would the victim suddenly turn and face the wall in the middle of a game?
I believe a sufficient reason will soon come to light.
What?
There's something in this diagram that makes far less sense, actually. Look again at the diagram. Apollo, if the victim was struck while he was sitting as shown here, where would his assailant be standing? Try marking it on the diagram. What? But there's no room to put a mark where the killer should be. Don't worry, let's think it through and see what we find. We know the victim was facing toward the wall at the time of the crime. That's the only thing we know for sure. Try to forget about everything else. Where would the killer have to be standing to strike our victim from the front? In here? The killer had to be standing, well, here. You get points for flair, but that's about all you get. I thought it was onto something there too.
I hardly need to point out that standing there would be impossible. The victim is facing a solid cupboard.
Hiding in the cupboard.
Are you claiming the killer climbed the cupboard and hit him from above? Huh.
It's simple logic, really. If this was the only place the killer could have been standing, then that means that at the very moment of the crime... Wait, I know! At the moment of the crime, the cupboard wasn't there. What's this now? I mean, that's the only explanation, right, Mr. Gavin? Oh, okay, well I thought he was hiding in the cupboard, but I guess not. Your Honor, I have a suggestion for the defense. We should arrange to examine the cupboard in the hideout immediately. Bailiff, send a team to the crime scene immediately. Have them try to move the cupboard. Your Honor. What? There's one more thing your men should look for. Please give this to the bailiff. Yes, I see. You do belong in the courtroom after all, Mr. Wright. I do my best. Let's forge ahead here while we wait. Look at the diagram once again. It's been changed. If the killer was standing here at the time of the crime, then this cupboard wasn't here, which means... Apollo, try moving the cupboard. It was blocking the window. Thank you. As you can see, the cupboard was the problem. At the time of the murder, it has to have been as shown here. Now everything is in place to reconstruct the moment of the crime. Oh my. What's this? What is it now? Look at the diagram of the crime scene once more. It appears we found yet another contradiction. What I believe to be the final contradiction, in fact. Huh? Oh dang. Notice something, Apollo? Our line of deduction is rapidly approaching its logical conclusion. Now then, Mr. Justice, please point to the new contradicting indicator. Is it the victim, the killer, the witness, the second witness? Which indicator in this diagram contradicts what we know about the crime? Second witness, how could you have even seen anything right there? About this cupboard, are we all okay with assuming it was moved? Sure, why not? Well, if it was, something really doesn't fit. The cupboard would completely cover up the window to the stairs. That's right. Someone standing outside wouldn't be able to see in. Someone like Mr. Gavin. What? What did you say? Oh, is the coolest defense in the West losing his cool? Don't expect me to play along with your little game, right? It's only a game until someone gets killed, Mr. Gavin. And someone was. While the window to that room was blocked by a cupboard. So, Mr. Gavin, perhaps you'd like to explain to the court exactly where did you witness the crime scene from? Excuse me, Your Honor. Order! This is a court of law and I will have order. We just now received word from our investigative team at the Borscht Bowl Club. They've examined the cupboard in the hideout, Your Honor. Oh? And what did they find? Well, Your Honor, it turns out there's a secret passage behind it. What? How did they... Well, I guess they didn't have a need to move the cupboard. Yes, I believe I mentioned something of the sort before. This is one of the tricks of the room many of our regulars know about. I do remember him saying something about that, now that he mentions it. A secret passage is a handy thing to have when you're engaged in illegal goings-on. Never know when you might need to duck away from the eyes of the law. So the room has a secret passage. Where does it go? The other side connects to the restaurant above. The underworld bosses could get away from the cops. Enjoy a cold bowl of borscht, no doubt. Just like our killer. You see where our line of simple deductive reasoning has led us, Apollo? I see it, but I don't believe it. That girl wasn't kidding when she said I needed this trump card for the last hand. At the time of the murder, the window was blocked and the victim's hat was only off his head for the few minutes between Mr. Smith's murder and Mr. Wright's return from calling the cops. In other words, the only place anyone could have seen the victim's bald head was from inside the hideout. Well, Mr. Gavin? Come on, say something. Dare I ask what really happened that night? Actually, I think we can probably figure it out ourselves at this point. That night, for whatever reason, our killer had a date with Mr. Smith, a date with destiny. There he crouched, hidden in the secret passageway behind the cupboard, holding his breath, waiting for just the right moment. Then the chance came, and he took it.
Ugh. Eek.
Wait, why'd you do that? Wait here, I'll get help. Miss Olga really was out cold, struck by Mr. Smith. But his time was soon to come. Mr. Wright went upstairs to call the cops, leaving Mr. Shoddy Smith alone in the hideout with the unconscious dealer. And our killer stepped out from the secret passage and into the hideout. The victim must have heard the cupboard sliding aside. He wheeled his chair around to look and... Oh, okay, so it's not a manual, like, manually pushed. It's connected to the door, like, must be spring-loaded or something, because then when they release it, it'll then, like, go back into place? If the deed was done, the criminal must have seen the blood on the card. He would have, of course, realized the need to destroy the evidence. A single spot of blood told the whole story of the crime. Too bad for him he didn't linger any longer in the hideout that night. If he had, he might have noticed the cards on the floor. And the fact that they were all red. Well, it seems this trial has taken yet another turn. I'm truly sorry I had to see this day come, Mr. Gavin. Mr. Gavin? Mr. Payne!
Yeah? Yes, Your Honor.
The prosecution will continue its investigation. As for Mr. Phoenix Wright, the defendant is hereby cleared of all suspicion.
What?
Believe me when I say that I don't believe this is happening, Mr. Gavin. But I'm afraid circumstances call for me to issue a warrant for your arrest immediately.
Objection!
Oh, no need to apologize. I rather enjoyed myself. It's not every day you get to witness a legendary attorney's dirty tactics firsthand. Your point, Mr. Gavin? Frankly, Your Honor, I'm shocked that a person of your caliber would be taken in by such a low-grade parlor trick. Excuse me? The defendant is cleared of all suspicion? This is hardly the time for jokes, Your Honor. Mr. Wright hasn't proven anyone's guilt or innocence here. What he has done is use illegal evidence to put the blame on someone else. And not just anyone else, but me, his own defense attorney. Illegal evidence?
Objection!
Let me ask you, Mr. Gavin. Is there still any reason, at present, to suspect me of wrongdoing? Of course. This bottle, for instance. The bottle of grape juice Mr. Wright was drinking. How do you intend to explain away the fingerprints on the murder weapon? And not just any fingerprints. Oh, crap, I missed it. Something, he said something. He threw it to Mr. Payne.
Here, actually, yes. The fingerprints on the bottle were upside down.
I seem to recall this being an issue earlier. The court in this case demand an explanation. I can think of only one reason why one would hold a bottle upside down. And that is to hit someone with the bottom of the bottle. Well, Your Honor? See how the caught fish squirms to the last. Well, Apollo? Yes? Your boss seems awfully concerned about this bottle still. Also, just one moment. Wow, I took my break just in time because, yeah, I need to address the fact that I'm running low on space. Alright, I'm back after that little jump cut. Your boss seems awfully concerned about this bottle still. I'm sure you can come up with a suitable explanation. Yeah.
Just like what? Why would anyone grab a bottle upside down other than to... Oop. Don't let him trick you into thinking his explanation is the only legitimate one. Is there really another? Take another look at the court record. I believe you'll find a simple answer there, in plain sight. How about you just say the answer in plain words? It would be hasty to deliver a verdict with unanswered questions indeed. Well, Mr. Justice? Mr. Gavin said that the court, in this case, demand an explanation. Don't worry, justice won't leave until justice is done. Okay, I do like that. Perhaps the defense would care to enlighten the court. What evidence do you have to explain why the fingerprints on the bottle are upside down? It's a good question indeed. This is the only thing I can think of, and I will laugh so hard if this is right, but if he was reaching for a bottle from behind him, his fingerprints would be upside down. Because I was looking like, okay, we got the bottles in the box, but no, you would still pick it up like right side up. But if it's behind you, you would have to like have your hand facing down to grab the top of it, and that's how you pick it up. Oh, okay. All right. I was taking a guess on that one. It's actually easier to show you than explain, Your Honor. Place that bottle on the floor next to your chair. Excuse me? On the floor? Yes. Now reach down and pick it up without getting out of your chair. See? You naturally go to pick up the bottle by its neck, with your fingers upside down. Look at this photograph taken on the night of the murder. The defendant, Mr. Wright, sat here, playing piano, bottles of grape juice on the floor to the side of his piano bench. He would have naturally picked up the bottles upside down several times. Wow, can't believe it was that simple. Call our dinner that evening, Christoph. I was drinking my usual juice then, too. Basically, you used a bottle on the table to do the deed. But then you must have remembered, so you went and picked up one of the bottles from under the piano. And you switched the bottles. You took one of Mr. Wright's bottles and made it look like the murder weapon. Order! 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 What do you have to say to these charges, Mr. Gavin? Fascinating. So this is the legendary attorney's famed tactic of misdirection. What? You claim that I switched the bottle? Where's your proof? Proof? Well, that's, wait, one more moment. Alright, back. Proof? Well, that's as I thought, more baseless conjecture. I'm afraid your bottle of proof is quite empty.
Objection!
I wouldn't be so sure about that. Your Honor, when you initiated the investigation of the hideout earlier, do you recall I requested an additional investigation? Yes. I have your memo about that here. Retrieve the bottles from under the piano at the Borscht Bowl Club. And here's one of the bottles in question. What are you going to dust that for fingerprints too? I'd be surprised if any were on that but his. Mr. Gavin probably wouldn't make such a novice mistake, true. The bottle won't bear a trace of anything. Say, Apollo. Yes? Why don't you go ahead and examine that bottle? But why? Just humor me. Mr. Wright, that bottle will solve this case once and for all. What? That's some bottle.
Yo. There's something inside the bottle. What's this? That card. It can't be. Call that unpleasant woman's testimony for a moment. Miss Olga O'Reilly? Yes, a little swindling Devachka. That night I planted the card like I was supposed to. And Wright lost the last hand, just like he was supposed to. Then Smith searched him. But the planted card was gone. The trap failed. Wait, this isn't... You're telling me that this is the planted card you disposed of? The one you mentioned in this piece of testimony. Happened to put my hand in my pocket and found a card. Yes, I snuck a peek at it and found it was the 5 of Hearts. Had a feeling something might happen, so I disposed of the card before the game. Disposed? Where? There's an empty bottle of grape juice I had been drinking right beside me. I threw the card inside the bottle. Well, it is the 5 of Hearts. The 5 of Hearts. This is the card. The bottles were swapped, and the only one who could have done that was the 4th person in the club that night. You, Mr. Christoph Gavin. Oh my god. Aww. As freakouts go, that one was pretty tame. That is all. Is this your idea of revenge, Phoenix Wright? Revenge? Revenge for the events that took away your attorney's badge 7 years ago. My past is like my logic, straight and true. Nothing's changed. All I did was point the finger of justice in the proper direction. One moment. And back. This is going to be rough to edit. All I did was point the finger of justice in the proper direction. Fine. I'm glad we could have this little tete-a-tete, right?
This is insane. What about me? Don't I get to prosecute anyone?
Poor Payne. But, yeah, like, are we going to learn about what happened 7 years ago, or what? I believe this time we finally come to the end of our trial. Mr. Payne, do you have a report for us on Christoph Gavin?
He's admitted everything. We're processing his arrest now.
I see. Still, one has to wonder why he would do such a thing. He didn't even have a connection to the victim, did he?
None that we know of.
Mr. Wright, have you anything to add? I'm afraid I can't shed any more light on the matter. About this victim, Mr. Shoddy Smith. His occupation was listed as traveler. An odd profession to be sure, that's all we know about him.
I'll arrange a follow-up investigation, Your Honor.
Good. Mr. Wright? Yes? 7 years. You still haven't lost your touch. Christoph Gavin was a man with much significance for me, both as a friend and a lawyer. He was extremely talented, to be sure. I needed 2 things before I could confront him. The first was a place where no injustice would be tolerated, this courtroom. The second was a man who would tolerate no injustice. In other words, a defense attorney. You, Apollo. Me? This is a dark time for our legal system. The twisting of justice brought on by our very own initial trial system. We have to set it right. Mr. Wright, our work lies ahead of us, and I, for one, am looking forward to it. Well, this seems like a good time to announce a verdict. This court finds the defendant, Mr. Phoenix Wright, not Guilty.
Yay.
Court is adjourned. Thanks, Apollo. You came through just like I thought you would. I'm pretty sure I didn't do a thing in there. It was you who cornered Mr. Gav, the killer. Couldn't have done it by myself. You sensed it too, today, didn't you? Your ability. Ability? Yes, sensitivity I lack. He'll come to understand it soon enough. Wait, I wonder if he means... I have one question for the witness then. You say you saw the moment the defendant hit the victim. Is this true? Of course it's true. What's this weird vibe I'm getting? What? What was that, Mr. Wright? You'll have to find the answer to that question yourself. The answer? Right. Today was full of questions without answers. Most of them about Mr. Gavin. What possible reason could he have had to commit murder? Perhaps you'll learn that in the days to come. Huh? Wait, you don't know, do you? This locket is the key. Huh? Oh, that reminds me. I met the girl whose picture is in your locket. Your daughter, right? That's right. She's my daughter. Who did you screw? Like, you know, you're right about this locket. Eh? I took this off his neck the night he died. But it looks like our dear Russian scam artist saw me. So the truth is, this locket really did belong to him. Wait, but that's perjury! You testified. You said that locket was yours. I said no such thing, actually. Huh? I merely said that it was a locket with my daughter's picture inside. Shit, he did. Wait, so was the picture always in there? Because if so, that is very creepy. A subtle distinction, but a distinction nonetheless. And it's the truth. Wait, but then, why? Why was the victim wearing a locket with a picture of your daughter inside it? Sometimes the straightest path to the truth isn't the best one. Give it time. You're still just getting started with your career. Speaking of which, I may be out of a job. I work for Gavin Law Offices after all. I still can't believe I just saw Mr. Gavin get led away in handcuffs. Apollo? Yes? How about coming to work for me? Eh? You mean at the Wright & Co. Law Offices? So it'll just be & Co. I mean, there's not a single attorney in my generation that doesn't know it. I can't imagine that to be true, but... Wait, but didn't you... You're not a... Oh, I turned in my badge, yes. I'm not an attorney anymore. An incident 7 years ago. A legendary trial. And at the middle of it all was one man, Phoenix Wright. The case reached its sad conclusion and he left law for good. I guess we're still going with, like, sort of what they did in Phoenix Wright 3, with an overarching story that extends across, like, all the trials. Or the very least, the first trial was one thing, and then it was revisited later on. So that might be the case for this, too. Like, you know, first trial, oh, we're left with questions, but then the final trial will be like, oh, dang. Anyway, have you ever thought about coming back to the courts? I'm not qualified to stand in the court of law, I'm afraid. Didn't you notice in today's trial? There was a single piece of forged evidence. Forged evidence? What are you talking about? I'm talking about evidence that shouldn't have existed. A naughty magician's trick.
one piece of evidence struck me as odd, it's true. It just seemed, well, too perfect. I bet this was the forged evidence. Was it the bloody ace? You mean this, don't you? I got this from your daughter, Mr. Wright. Yes, that card couldn't have been found at the crime scene. Why? Because the killer took it with him when he left, leaving the wrong card in its place, luckily for us. So, Gavin was telling the truth. Oh shit, Phoenix? Yo, what? Wow. Court can't accept this evidence. It's a fraud. A fraud? How can you be so sure? Oh, and true, because then if he would have gone in depth... Oh, so they got him. Because he wouldn't be able to say, like, it's fraud because I have the real card, which would have... They put him in a no-win situation. I think the only person who could claim it was a fraud would be the one who took the real card from the crime scene. The real killer. Because I didn't even question how Phoenix was able to get it and get it to his daughter. My verdict was already handed down 7 years ago. Then, you really... Yes, I forged this card. One look at the crime scene should have told you it wasn't real. But you can't do something like that and call yourself an attorney. Who's calling themselves an attorney? Apollo. So it's true. Rumor is true. 7 years ago. None of that matters much now, does it? Grr. I punched him. It's your story from here on out, Apollo. Perhaps I can help you turn the next page. My office's address. Drop in if you like. Mr. Wright. Oh, about your uppercut. Try yelling, "Take that!" next time. I find it packs a little more punch. My God. And Apollo, thanks for today. I had a good time. And with that, Mr. Wright walked out the door. And that's how my first trial ended. A lot of mysteries went unsolved, and at the time I had no idea they were all related. Every mystery that day, connected by a single thread of logic. I'd find that out soon enough. My name is Apollo Justice, attorney at law, and this is how my story begins. I do appreciate that they're saying, like, oh yeah, we'll address all of this later on, but I also would have liked if they would have sort of left it up to ambiguity. But fair enough. Anyway, next time we're starting Turnabout Corner. Alright. And let's see that art. Oh. I guess not. Was that only like a Wii thing or something like for the Wii port? That was then in the HD ports? I don't know, but yeah, that's gonna be it for it for today. And yeah, so far I'm liking the game. It looks great. I actually managed to solve a trial without getting the game over. I mean, granted, it was the first trial, and I still took damage at some point, but still, you know, hey, it's pretty good for me. yeah. But yeah, next time we start the next chapter. Woo! Thank you all for watching. Have a great day, and I will see you next time for some more Let's Play Apollo Justice Ace Attorney. Goodbye. It's weird that Phoenix still owns his law offices, despite not being a lawyer himself, but I guess you can do that? I mean, like with a local place, Sam Bernstein, he it's still his laws, but he's still practicing though. Yeah, it's like the local places I can think of. It's like their namesake is still practicing law. Huh. I don't know. I would have to look into that, but I don't think there's anything stopping them from still like owning the law offices, even if they like just stop themselves. But I guess you also have the stigma of practicing law at the offices of a disbarred lawyer. But yeah, next time we're going to play more of this game right here. See you all then. Goodbye.